Friday, really, you would need any changes by. I mean, you can't
Friday.
you don't want to be doing the state budget form on a Tuesday morning for a Tuesday meeting.
Right.
So I would hope that either you're gonna make a decision, make a change, get it to row maybe by Friday at noon so that we can have the weekend and.
Next Friday, right?
Hey, Ray, I just got one other question about this budget. I see that our health benefits are in Commissioner Tucci's department, $547,000 worth of uncontrollable costs. And just from what, I give the public feedback, and I know our employees are making a contribution to bring that number down. Have you heard anything on the state side what is the state doing to battle that number of those increases that just keep raising that cost, and then they push it on the municipality, and we have to somehow manage through that, which is really getting harder and harder to do.
Well, I think the premise with the Chapter 68 law, 78, where the employee makes a greater contribution over, I'm not sure, are you completely phased in yet?
Yes.
So the premise was that as that law came into place, employees would recognize really how expensive healthcare is because now they're contributing to it. Before that, they weren't contributing, so why wouldn't you ask for this kind of coverage? I think it's going to take a little bit of time for municipal or local government coverage to assimilate what's going on in private industry. So we have our employees complain all the time that we have, $2,000 deductibles before they start to pay, et cetera. Where most local government plans have this clause in their contracts that coverage has to be equal to or better than. That one clause in contracts, I think, has caused coverage for government to be dramatically higher than what private industry has been.
But not only that, my point is that we have to abide by a 2% cap. Is there anything that governs these insurance companies to be more competitive when they're giving us these rates? And I mean, is there anything that, it seems like the insurance company says, okay, you have a $500,000 increase this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing that these municipalities can do to battle that?
Well,
And there's nothing that the state's doing to control that? So my point is,
No.
instead of going after the employees and the contributions that the employees are paying, what are we doing to go after the insurance companies that are setting these rates?
it's the cost of healthcare and, the money lust of the insurance companies. The insurance companies are going broke. So
I don't know, when I read the paper what the CEOs are making, that don't seem like they're going broke to me. But
that's what I'm saying. They're
Yeah.
not going broke.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anything we can do on our end to educate our employees on, by taking a plan with a higher deductible, they save money in their paycheck. For some of the younger employees, that may be attractive.
Well, I think it will eventually get there. I don't know that it has gotten there yet. I thought there would be more of a move to maybe eliminate that, that equal to or greater than clause eventually.
Well, you have to offer it equal. You have to offer it equal, but that doesn't mean the employee has to take it.
Right. Well, I would say for the most part, even though I think you can contribute right now up to 35%, depending on what your compensation level is. Most employees can contribute considerably less. It's based on your pay scale, but it's not what it's like in private industry, and there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But certainly at some point, the cost of healthcare and just passing that along to the taxpayers will have to change. I would have thought we would have saw more of that movement, but and the lifetime healthcare is the other significant cost that is carrying. Some places have been able to finally negotiate that out. I don't know what your share is, Rob, you know what you pay in healthcare for retired, what portion of your bill?
I wanna say we're about $175 per month.
So you're paying a couple $1 million in healthcare for employees
And the
that are,
retirees, and the
for long,
retirees.
long ago.
The only reason why I raised that up because it's awful frustrating. I mean, when we go back to these numbers, as Commissioner Evans has done, and pretty much have the same employee base, and it just seems that a lot of these taxes that we have to pass on to our residents is due to things that are uncontrollable to the township, and we don't have it just seems like that we don't have a voice to go argue these issues.
Well, that creates a whole discussion about, the systemic problem with how affordable are the pensions that are provided to employees in the system that there is, and the level of healthcare insurance that's provided. It's not unique to Nutley, that's what the state is dealing with, that's what every municipality is dealing with. I think if you look back over your operating expenses over the past several years, it's your increases in uncontrollable costs compared to controllable costs have been like 4 to 1. If you weren't looking at the pension and healthcare increases, you'd be looking at a less than 1% increase. And looking back over the last several years, it's been no increase. Would have been no increase. You probably would have had net reductions. Yeah, the pension system was not built on a plan where you work for 25 years and then retire and live for another 50 years.
The pension's not really the biggest issue that I have. It's really the insurance, and I don't want to confuse it. My point is that my point is that I'm not saying that we should write the budgets in on the backs of our employees here.
Right.
Our employees are paying in; they are contributing to it. My point is what are we doing to attack these insurance companies that set these outrageous fees? And they're just passed on to us, and they're just very difficult. I mean, you obviously you come here every year, you tell us that we're doing a wonderful job with our budget, and I know that we have 5 commissioners that are working diligently on that. But it seems like because of this particular issue, our taxes keep going up here because of, because we don't have that voice to go battle. Like in my business, when I go to my health providers, I shop it around and I, manage through it and I get the best rate. I mean, do we have that same ability, Commissioner Evans?
So, Commissioner Tucci, he's not here, and I don't want to speak for him because I don't want to misquote him. But I know he does periodically and regularly look to what is the premium cost to the township under state health benefits versus what it would be if for a private carrier.
Right.
And every time he's looked at that, it's always been state health benefits provides a lower cost to us. Because when you start to do that, you have to actually factor in what your actual experience rate is. And generally, one of the things that drives municipal healthcare up, or public sector healthcare up, is the high experience rate. Because in your plan, you have, police officers, firemen, and stuff who are out there doing their job, but it is an area where you have a higher probability, sewer as well, where people are doing that type of work, a higher probability of an injury. So therefore, there's a higher probability that they're going to need the healthcare coverage, right, in order to get through that, which on the insurance company side says your experience rate is high, it costs a lot, therefore you're going to contribute a higher premium. So I know that that negotiation at the state level has been ongoing, but and this is dated, but I did a series of sort of open dialogue about understanding the municipal budget, and I haven't done it in a little while, but I did it a few years ago, and we had a resident from Bloomfield who came to sit in our meeting because she was wanting to know why the healthcare costs in Nutley were so much lower than Bloomfield. And the fact is that Bloomfield moved off of state health benefits. The year they did it, they got a wonderful benefit because they had lower costs. As soon as their experience rate hit in, their experience ratio hit in the following year, their healthcare costs skyrocketed. So we were looking at the time, spending roughly $5.5 million for all of our healthcare costs. Bloomfield is spending $15 million.
They may be self-insured rather than.
And they may have to, so you start to look at, those factors. So it's a complex discussion, but I do agree that, no matter what it is, at the state level should be putting pressure on insurance companies who operate in the state to factor in, how do we manage these costs? Under Obamacare, it's a marketplace concept, and so as you were saying, is you can go through that and you can shop it. Employees can go shop it and find the lowest rate. Under state health benefits, you can't do that. There's another factor that I think will affect us once it actually hits. Is it was originally slated as a federal law to impose what they call a Cadillac excise tax on healthcare benefits on what they was defined as Cadillac plans. So, for example, someone who has family coverage and that coverage is more than $27,500, the excess over that is an excise tax, and the tax payable is 40%. And that's not.
It's on the employer.
It's an employer tax. It's not passed on to the employee. So if we were to take all of the employees in the town in 2000, it's what was originally going to hit in 2018. It's now been deferred by the federal government. But again, in an effort to control the rise of healthcare costs, the federal government imposed a stiff excise tax. Basically said you can have those benefits, right, and you can pay that, but you're going to pay a heavy tax, an excise tax on top, as an employer to provide those of 40%. So if it's 27.5 and and ours are currently 31 and change, right? So roughly $4,000. Well, $1,600 per employee becomes a tax that we would have to just add into our budget and pay that as an excise tax when that was in. The idea and the concept around it was for these plans to be looked at, and not just for employees to accept reduced benefits, but to actually put pressure on the insurance companies to come up with plans that make sense and do it at a lower cost. But generally, that usually turns out to be is to hit that goal, you get less coverage, you would get a higher deductible, and a higher contribution. And so all of that, when they started to focus on it, generated a deferral at the federal level to spend more time studying it.
Do they put a date on it?
It's 21.
It just seems that if we keep heading in this direction,
20 or 21.
I thought it was a 2-year deferral, so it's probably 20.
it just seems that if we keep heading in this direction, I mean, the taxes, and it's the biggest complaint we all get. What are my taxes going to be 10 years from now? And I just want to be clear, but my issue with this, so it's not misconstrued, is that I have an issue with, we're asking people that are making, 50 grand a year working for a township, they're paying a contribution because of the healthcare costs, and then you have a CEO of some company living in a mansion getting a $20 million bonus. It just seems like it's criminal to me,